Grossman is a writer, and he has affected the lives and the minds and the thinking and the emotional content of many, many, many brilliant people. And as you know, the effect of this cannot really be calculated. What the world that he wrote about, I think, may actually come to pass because his fans are just, extraordinary people in an extraordinary time. I'm one of them. And it's not just, of course, I don't want the shit that he wrote about to happen. That's crazy. Okay? To be able to manipulate the universe by twisting around your fingers is retarded. But that's like, excuse my language. But that's like what people. It's an allegory. It's a metaphor. Okay, and in the same way that the characters in this book are the secret aristocracy of their planet, as in within their society, the things that they do, the decisions that they make, the problems that they understand and solve, the people of the world are not necessarily aware that they're doing this, but they are propping up ecosystems and economies, and they are the reason that a collapse didn't happen, a nuclear war was averted, and when and where the world does what it does and goes where it goes is really a result of their, their decision making, their navigating the world, and their, power. They are the most powerful creatures on the planet, and they wield that power. That is like the premise of the book, and it ends there. Like the picture that I relate to ends there, because what they're doing, I mean, in the book is not really related to the real world so much, but they reference these people in the book that are doing these things, like propping up ecosystems and economies, I said. But the work that I talk about would definitely, it could be like I could have pitched that to Lev Grossman as like, something that one of the students at the university is studying, working on these biomimetic Goldilocks orbiting, forms. But you can't really pursue that sort of magic as easily and, and say, this is magic, look, because it's possible. Okay? And same with, volcanic, passive volcanic eco-architecture, colossal, megalithic, biomimetic structures that just sort of slowly form out of this black, nutritious stone. Beautiful idea. God. We don't need blue people. Like weird tails that like connect to rhinoceroses and like the tree of life and shit. I just want a home tree. I want a tree that's so big that it looks like it's got leaves, but they're entire trees. I excuse me, get a little intense and then I start to sound crazy. Anyway, I don't intend to be the secret aristocracy of this planet. That's, again, crazy. I'm not a crazy person. I am inspired. And I have a wild imagination, and I want to share it. And this is how I want to do it. I see the world as it could be. I've always been that way. And Well, with AI, now I have the opportunity to show everyone else too. Um, I, you know, how cheap computers are getting. Um, it's really incredible. What's possible? Sorry, I'm getting closer to my grandma's room. Yeah, the the magicians. The reason I was talking about that, I mean, God, I was talking about that for very many reasons. Lev Grossman is a genius. He's one of the people in this world that, if if aliens showed up to Earth and they were like, "You have 10 seconds to decide who is in control of this planet," I would be like, and I would probably go with like Hank Green, um, Lev Grossman, and of course me. Um, but those are just people off the top of my head. I mean, they did impress me. Anyway, Lev Grossman is a magician in the sense that he is the secret aristocracy of this world. He's a secretly, or not so secretly, because I'm explaining this to you right now. It's immediately apparent if you look at it. He is Grossman. And so the amount of buoyancy that we have is really, just using the initial methodology of like we lash together plastic vessels and we root plants throughout, and that gives us buoyancy. Then there's enough plastic out there to to create a floating island nation, a garden island nation. The way I picture this is no inch of it would be barren. I don't want something that looks like technology, because technology to me looks like death. It's a fucking, excuse me, it's a desert. So, biotechnology, eco-technology, and I have done a lot of thinking into how these systems could manifest using pollution, using garbage, using the tools at hand, and how we could make sure that they are sustainable and that they grow and that they eventually become these, well, extremely stabilizing forces in the world, in the living systems of the world. So, and these floating seaworthy, living systems, they are not the only biomimetic thing, system, structure that is a scaled micro or macrocosm of of another system that I want to work on, and so we can do just an incredible amount of computation and learning and decision making and form, like deciding the form of these things and the behavior of these things. We don't have to figure that out, because these things already exist. All we have to do is create the translation matrix, as in we need to represent these things on a tiny scale with real living organisms. So, like, we have giant robots that look and behave like ants. Do we decide what they do? No. We just we have this translation matrix that turns big landfills into small landfills, and then we dump ants on them and watch what they do. And, our big ants do very much what the little ants do. And in this way, they do not have to think. They don't have to understand. They are a shadow. They are a mirror. They are forest in the form of ants, full of ants. It's just beautiful. Especially if, what they do is they take useless, inert forms or ecologically or biologically destructive or useless, assemblies of landfills, toxic pit of nothing. And they turn it into the most incredible diversity of life and technology and architecture that's possible to make with that in the shortest possible time. And landfill mining will be this century, it might actually be mid-century in the same way the gold rush happened mid-century in California. I think this will be, for me anyway, in Ghana, because that's where the best landfills are. The Ghana landfills are literal clothes, like cotton. Perfect. But there are landfills all around the world. Some of them are really rich in computer chips. Some of them are really toxic. Hedgehogs and oyster mushrooms. Right? So all the stuff that I talk about, so my plan this year, and I really hope this works out, because it leads into everything else that I've been talking about. My plan this year is a progression toward learning, developing systems that can be used, that make sense, and practicing the creation, the formation, the use of these translation matrices for creating functional representations of a system or a thing on a different scale, bigger or larger. I'm using this to mine landfills, to prove the concept of these biomimetic, floating, seaworthy freshwater systems, these cellular forms that can grow at the mouths of rivers or freshwater systems and just become something like a multicellular organism, like bacterium or something, stretching out into the sea, and eventually supporting a large freshwater system within the ocean that has brackish elements and marine elements and silty elements and nutritionally absent. And there's this huge diversity of condition supporting a massive diversity of life, and it's all maintained because this is designed to maintain systems that maintain life. A huge diversity of them, because the goal of it, the point of it, is to host, nurture, help to thrive the greatest possible diversity and quantity of life. So, deep fakes. You've heard of deep fakes. You've seen them. It's like that video of Trump with no shirt on, and the man titties are bouncing around. He's just going fucking ham wild. He's like, what? Yeah. He's getting into the dance routine and shit. Of course that didn't happen, but it's real. It looks so real. It could have happened. So I want to do that, and this is where it's going. I want to do that on a massive scale, to a ridiculous degree of granularity, meaning that what I want to simulate is the universe in its many dimensions that we're capable of perceiving, simulating. using as a medium to represent these forms. Like, to what degree can we understand and represent the universe using these simulations, and how detailed can they be? We talk about a deep fake. I mean, that is one plane of data input. That is like, your eyes are receiving this flat projection of, you could achieve the same thing by shining lasers into your retinas, basically, from like two sources, just like right in front of you, and augmented reality glasses do that. What I'm saying is human perception is limited, and so to do that properly, you need to actually create a model of the thing that the computer perceives, of course, all at once, not from every angle. And so these forms, what I really want to create is a detailed simulation of the cosmos down to a subatomic scale. And I want to simulate the things that I talk about. And I think that'll make it a lot easier for people to understand when these things are deep faked in 3 dimensions. Well, I mean, more than that, actually. But, you see it in 3. You can perceive it in 3 from any angle, any direction, any perspective. From any point of the thing, any possible manifestation of it is, a potential vantage point for you. And we can make ridiculous, beautiful technology that is in keeping with, the physical, chronological, the legitimate, real nature of the universe, like what is actually possible physically. And, we can show people what exactly would have to happen to manifest these forms. I have a few ideas. Eden seeds. Here's a fun concept. A volcano is just a point on the earth where it spills liquid earth, and this liquid earth solidifies when it hits the cold exterior of the planet, and it, forms into whatever shape it happens to form into, which, altogether, all these extrusions, these shapes, put all together, generally they form cones. And we know these as volcanoes. And we know these as volcanoes. But they don't have to. These could be passive architectural outputs. Personally, I wouldn't want to see a dead stone form. That would be beyond disappointment for humanity to achieve that level of control without understanding the fucking point. Which is, of course, the best life for every living thing within a system that ensures the best life for all living things together. The greatest possible biodiversity and biomass and harmony. And, interesting stuff, too. We can't just balance everything and expect that to be enough. No, we need a reason. We need, a game. We need an oddity. We need something bizarre. So I've been thinking. That's the magic of it. Thinking these enormous biomimetic Goldilocks orbiting, Goldilocks formed, just right, just so, not too hot, not too cold. Something like a spiral ribbon that you could stretch it out. If you let it go, it wraps itself into a heart. Which is actually the structure of your heart. That would be a great one. But biomimetic forms in general, I think, will be really useful for these living worlds. I have a friend, Isaac Spiegel, who I don't know if he remembers me. He was my friend in elementary school when we were both like 6 or 7 years old. And he's now chief of navigation at an asteroid mining company. And I have no doubt that he's going to get his hands dirty. So I talk about these things not because I want you to think about them as much as because I want to show them to you. I want to make these things happen in a simulation, in miniature, just the parts that need to be illustrated, we need data, wherever it is that the AI lacks what is needed to represent this, to give us a deep fake of the things that I describe. I keep saying functionally representative microcosms. I should make that an LLC or something. Can't shut up about it. Anyway, I don't know what your thinking is on all of this, or if you have any.
The solar system, the galaxy.
As this thing navigates the solar system, navigates it's the context, the situations that it ends up in on a massive scale, or on a small scale, but whatever is important, whatever is relevant to it, decisions need to be made regarding the form of this thing and its behavior in an astronomical context. And so, because this is this massive organism, I described a sea turtle. And I did that not just because Lev Grossman talked about a stack of turtles as it goes down, they get bigger and bigger, and they start to look more and more like dragons. No, but also just because the idea of a sea turtle is beautiful. It's this intelligent navigator of a cosmos that exists within our own world, the sea. And it has a shell that protects it, that it can retreat within. It is one organism, but on our planet, one organism is a conglomeration of many, many organisms, that have come together at different times and ways. As in, long, long ago, the forms that make the sea turtles organelles were once actually separate from the cell that they are part of, and the cell ate them as food, but they didn't digest them, and the organelle, the thing that was eaten by the cell, it actually started doing something useful for the thing that ate it, and the thing that ate it liked that and did something useful for it, so they developed a symbiotic relationship, and then they started sharing DNA, and so the next time they replicated, they produced both of them. And this is a cell with an organelle. That's how that happened. But these things, they grew and evolved and changed and got bigger. And this partnership over time changes and develops. New organisms come and interact with the system, but over time, it grows larger and larger, and until this form that was originally represented by the organelle is now an organ, and that's what we are. And meanwhile, we're made of these cells that contain organelles, and we're full of other cells. Foreign DNA composes most of the DNA that exists, because we're just so full of bacteria. It's lovely. Anyway, so back to the point here. These places within them, it could be a puzzle, a maze, a sort of microcosmic representation of the context that the organism that you exist within, your living world. I said a sea turtle, but it could be anything. The context that it has to respond to much larger, longer term. Anyway, so back to the point here. These places within them, it could be a puzzle, a maze, a sort of microcosmic representation of the context that the organism that you exist within, your living world. I said a sea turtle, but it could be anything. The context that it has to respond to much larger, longer term, more, cosmological context. It could be represented by physical systems, interesting power dynamics that, that are, playing out within this ecology and the structure, the interior of this biomimetic, I keep saying Goldilocks form, living world. And of course the purpose of this thing, what the effect of that is, as the beings that live within this thing, interacting with the natural systems, the physical systems, the pattern, the game of this world, the way that things operate, by navigating that system, interacting with it, because it is a microcosmic representation. It is like literally the cosmos within the context that your world is experiencing. Basically you are piloting this craft by interacting with and manipulating and understanding and changing, operating within the systems that exist and play out in this microcosm of the cosmos. This enormous imitation of a living thing that is made of living things and technology, and operated by living things. Sort of a massive version of what I call a myco-arbor ant. I don't know if you've heard my stuff, but I get into, functionally representative microcosms of a landfill. And if you created enough of them that are scaled to actual insectoid ants with functional differences in the content of the landfill, like wherever there's plastic water bottles or computer chips, we replace that with, protein or, sugar. And the ants will guide us directly to everything that we need. So we just follow their activity. These functionally representative microcosms, a lot of my thinking, my ideas, and a lot of beautiful technology can be done with this. Functional representations, a translation matrix. So that's possibly why I'm getting this idea, but what I'm picturing is a sea turtle that roams the cosmos, with a representative ecology and biology and culture of every living place and being it has ever encountered. It's sort of Noah's Ark, actually. Except, I actually have some more specific ideas about Noah's Ark. It's a bizarre concept. It's just a story. But, anyway, I would say anyway too much. So, I've been thinking